I woke up between my alpha boss's legs with his hand clamped over my mouth and the red eye of the hallway camera blinking at the office door. For 3 frozen seconds, I did not understand the floor beneath my cheek, the sharp scent of cedar and rain wrapped around me, or why Grant Hale was sitting above me in his leather chair with his knees on either side of my shoulders like he had trapped me there. Then someone knocked. My entire body jolted. Grant's hand tightened, not hard enough to hurt, just enough to stop the sound rising in my throat. His eyes cut down to mine, silver gray and terrifyingly calm. He lifted one finger to his lips. "Don't move." I tried to move anyway, but my limbs answered slowly, like they belonged to someone waking from deep anesthesia. My tongue tasted bitter. My collar was damp with sweat. The scent blocker patch on my wrist had peeled halfway loose, its edge curled back like someone had torn at it. I remembered the late elevator, the executive hallway, a paper cup of tea left on my desk by someone from HR, though I had not asked for tea. After that, nothing. Another knock hit the door, louder this time. "Mr. Hale," a woman called from outside. "Security flagged movement in your office." Security. My breath stopped against Grant's palm. If they opened the door, they would see me under his desk, between his legs, half-conscious and scent-shaken, with my boss shielding me from view. No one would ask why I was there. They would decide. Omega in turn crawls under Alpha Boss's desk. Employee seduces CEO after hours. Career over before sunrise. Grant leaned back, just enough that his desk hid me deeper in shadow. His other hand dropped his suit jacket over my shoulders, covering my torn scent patch and the exposed line of my throat. "No one enters," he said, his voice low and absolute. "Sir," HR requested. I said no one enters. The office went silent except for the faint electric hum above the door. I turned my head a fraction and saw it through the gap between the desk and wall. The hallway camera, its small red light glowing steadily. Recording. Watching. Waiting. Grant saw where I was looking. His jaw tightened. He lowered his voice. Until only I could hear. "Keep your face out of that angle." My stomach twisted. That was not comfort. That was knowledge. He knew where the camera could see. He knew why it mattered. I shoved weakly at his knee, anger cutting through the fog. His hand left my mouth at once, but he caught my wrist before I could crawl out. "Caleb," he whispered. Hearing my name from him like that made the situation worse. More real, more impossible. "You were unconscious when I found you." My lips barely worked. "Found me where?" His eyes flicked toward the door. He did not answer fast enough. Fear sharpened inside me. "Where?" I repeated. The doorknob shifted. Grant released my wrist and stood so quickly the chair rolled back, blocking the line of sight to me with his body. "Step away from the door," he ordered. The handle stopped moving. Outside, someone whispered. Not the HR woman. A lower voice. A phone vibrated once against the doorframe, close enough that I heard it through the wood. Someone was recording out there. Grant reached under the desk, not touching me this time, only pushing the jacket farther over me, as if even my sleeve could become evidence. "Listen to me," he said without looking down. "Whatever you think this is, you did not come here willingly." The words should have helped. They didn't. They opened a hole beneath everything. If I had not come willingly, then who had brought me? Why here? Why him? The bitterness on my tongue rose again, and with it a fractured memory. The teacup tipping in my hand, my knees weakening, a shadow at the elevator mirror, a hand catching my elbow before I hit the floor. Not Grant's hand. Smaller. Colder. The knock came a third time. "Mr. Hale, if you don't open this door, we'll have to document noncompliance." Grant looked down at me then, and for the first time, the calm in his face cracked. Not with guilt. With urgency. He turned toward the door, voice hard enough to cut through the wood. "No one comes in. Not until I know who drugged him." The word drugged hit the hallway harder than any threat could have. For 1 second, nobody outside the door spoke. Then the HR woman's voice came back thinner. "Mr. Hale, that is a serious allegation." "Then document that," Grant said. From the other side of the door, I heard footsteps shift, uncertain now. The power in the room changed. A moment ago, I had been the scandal hidden under a desk. Now I was evidence in something worse. Grant crouched without turning his back fully to the door, keeping his body between me and the camera angle. "Can you stand?" he asked. I hated that my first answer was no. My knees trembled before I even tried. He saw it and did not touch me until I nodded once. Even then, his hand stayed at my elbow, clinical, careful, nowhere near my waist. That should have reassured me. It only made me more aware of how deliberately he was avoiding anything that could look wrong. He guided me behind the tall cabinet beside his desk, out of the hallway camera's line. Then he moved to the wall panel and tapped in a code. A private screen slid awake, showing 4 security feeds at once. The hallway outside his office, the executive elevator, the reception corner, and the narrow corridor near the staff kitchen. "Why do you have that?" I whispered. "Because someone triggered a motion alert in my office while I was reviewing the East contract downstairs." His eyes flicked to the feed, not me. "I came up expecting an intruder. I found you on the floor." The floor. Not under the desk. Not between his legs. Something in my stomach turned over. Then why was I there when I woke up? Grant's hand paused above the controls. Because the hallway camera was still live, and someone was already outside with a phone. Before I could ask more, he pulled up the elevator feed. I appeared on screen 10 minutes earlier, stumbling out alone, one hand braced against the wall. My shirt collar was open, my eyes unfocused, my scent blocker patch already peeling. I watched myself take 3 steps toward Grant's office, then stop as if I had forgotten where I was. Shame crawled up my neck, hot and immediate. Even seeing it happen to myself, I looked guilty, drunk, desperate. Like every rumor people love to believe about Omega's near-powerful alphas. "That's not all," Grant said. He scrubbed back for minutes. The hallway feed flickered once. Then the screen went black. Not dark from a lighting failure. Black, clean, deliberate. A timestamp kept running in the corner. For minutes and 12 seconds passed with no picture. When the feed returned, I was gone. The hallway was empty except for the red recording light reflected in the elevator doors. Where did I go? My voice sounded too small. Grant switched to the office camera. The screen showed his empty office, desk neat, chair pushed in, lights dimmed. Then it froze. Same black cut. Same timestamp gap. Same 4 minutes. When the image returned, his chair had shifted slightly, his suit jacket was no longer on the back of it, and one corner of the rug near the desk was folded under, like something heavy had dragged across it. "Like me. Someone cut both feeds," I said. "Not cut," Grant replied. "Looped. The system thinks nothing happened." He enlarged the hallway feed frame by frame before the blackout. But whoever did it missed the reflection. I leaned closer despite myself. In the polished elevator doors, barely visible, a blurred shape moved behind me. Not Grant. The person was too short, too narrow, one hand gripping my elbow from behind just as my knees bent. The image glitched before their face appeared. "Who was that?" I asked. Grant did not answer. Again, too slow. My fragile trust snapped tight. "You know more than you're saying. I know someone inside this floor had access to the camera loop." "That's not what I asked." He looked at me then, and the controlled alpha boss was back, but thinner around the edges. If I name the wrong person before I can prove it, they win. Outside the door, the HR woman spoke again, this time to someone else. "Security says the hallway footage shows Mr. Reed entering voluntarily." My blood went cold. Grant's jaw hardened. On the screen, I watched my own half-conscious body stagger toward the office, then vanish into 4 missing minutes nobody but us could see. The hallway feed jumped to the final frame before the blackout. A hand closed around my arm and pulled me out of view. The screen froze there, cruel and silent, showing just enough to prove I had not walked in alone, and not enough to prove who had taken me. The word drugged hit the hallway harder than any threat could have. For 1 second, nobody outside the door spoke. Then the HR woman's voice came back thinner. "Mr. Hale, that is a serious allegation." "Then document that," Grant said. From the other side of the door, I heard footsteps shift, uncertain now. The power in the room changed. A moment ago, I had been the scandal hidden under a desk. Now I was evidence in something worse. Grant crouched without turning his back fully to the door, keeping his body between me and the camera angle. "Can you stand?" he asked. I hated that my first answer was no. My knees trembled before I even tried. He saw it, and did not touch me until I nodded once. Even then, his hand stayed at my elbow, clinical, careful, nowhere near my waist. That should have reassured me. It only made me more aware of how deliberately he was avoiding anything that could look wrong. He guided me behind the tall cabinet beside his desk, out of the hallway camera's line. Then he moved to the wall panel and tapped in a code. A private screen slid awake, showing 4 security feeds at once. The hallway outside his office, the executive elevator, the reception corner, and the narrow corridor near the staff kitchen. Why do you have that? I whispered. Because someone triggered a motion alert in my office while I was reviewing the East contract downstairs. His eyes flicked to the feed, not me. I came up expecting an intruder. I found you on the floor. The floor. Not under the desk. Not between his legs. Something in my stomach turned over. Then why was I there when I woke up? Grant's hand paused above the controls. Because the hallway camera was still live, and someone was already outside with a phone. Before I could ask more, he pulled up the elevator feed. I appeared on screen 10 minutes earlier, stumbling out alone, one hand braced against the wall. My shirt collar was open, my eyes unfocused, my scent blocker patch already peeling. I watched myself take 3 steps toward Grant's office, then stop as if I had forgotten where I was. Shame crawled up my neck, hot and immediate. Even seeing it happen to myself, I looked guilty, drunk, desperate. Like every rumor people love to believe about Omega's near powerful alphas. That's not all, Grant said. He scrubbed back for minutes. The hallway feed flickered once. Then the screen went black. Not dark from a lighting failure. Black, clean, deliberate. A timestamp kept running in the corner. For minutes and 12 seconds passed with no picture. When the feed returned, I was gone. The hallway was empty except for the red recording light reflected in the elevator doors. Where did I go? My voice sounded too small. Grant switched to the office camera. The screen showed his empty office, desk neat, chair pushed in, lights dimmed. Then it froze. Same black cut. Same timestamp gap. Same 4 minutes. When the image returned, his chair had shifted slightly, his suit jacket was no longer on the back of it, and one corner of the rug near the desk was folded under, like something heavy had dragged across it. Like me. Someone cut both feeds, I said. Not cut, Grant replied. Looped. The system thinks nothing happened. He enlarged the hallway feed frame by frame before the blackout. But whoever did it missed the reflection. I leaned closer despite myself. In the polished elevator doors, barely visible, a blurred shape moved behind me. Not Grant. The person was too short, too narrow, one hand gripping my elbow from behind just as my knees bent. The image glitched before their face appeared. Who was that? I asked. Grant did not answer. Again, too slow. My fragile trust snapped tight. You know more than you're saying. I know someone inside this floor had access to the camera loop. That's not what I asked. He looked at me then, and the controlled alpha boss was back, but thinner around the edges. If I name the wrong person before I can prove it, they win. Outside the door, the HR woman spoke again, this time to someone else. Security says the hallway footage shows Mr. Reed entering voluntarily. My blood went cold. Grant's jaw hardened. On the screen, I watched my own half-conscious body stagger toward the office, then vanish into 4 missing minutes nobody but us could see. The hallway feed jumped to the final frame before the blackout. Hey! Hand closed around my arm and pulled me out of view. The screen froze there, cruel and silent, showing just enough to prove I had not walked in alone, and not enough to prove who had taken me. The frozen frame stayed on the screen like a verdict with the face torn off. My arm was in that stranger's grip. My body leaned the wrong way. My head hung forward as if I had already stopped fighting. Yet outside the door, HR had already decided the clean hallway clip mattered more than the missing 4 minutes. Open the door, Mr. Hale, the woman said. We need to speak with Caleb Reed directly. Grant looked at me. For once, he did not issue a command. He waited. That small pause scared me more than his authority had, because it meant the choice was mine and every option could ruin me. If I stayed hidden, I looked guilty. If I stepped out from behind the cabinet, I became the image they wanted, an Omega emerging from the Alpha boss's locked office after hours, wrapped in his jacket, shaking too hard to stand. I'll talk, I said, though my voice barely held together. Grant's eyes dropped to the jacket on my shoulders. Then we document your condition first. He lifted his phone, angled it only toward my wrist, and took a time-stamped photo of the torn scent blocker patch, the red mark where adhesive had been ripped sideways, and the faint smear of bitter tea on my cuff. Evidence, he said quietly. Not permission. The words hit somewhere I did not expect. He was not asking me to trust him. He was giving me something to use if I stopped trusting him. He opened the door only halfway, placing himself in the gap before anyone could see past his shoulder. The HR woman, Marissa Vale from compliance, stood with a security guard and a tablet pressed to her chest. Behind them, two night staff members lingered too far down the hall to be innocent, their phones held low but ready. Marissa's eyes flicked from Grant's face to the jacket edge visible behind him. Her expression changed. Not shock. Confirmation. "Mr. Reed," she said carefully, "we received an anonymous clip showing you entering this wing at 10:42 p.m. without authorization." My mouth went dry. I didn't enter it by myself. The footage we received shows otherwise. Then it was cut. Her gaze sharpened, not at me, but at Grant. "That is exactly what Mr. Hale claimed before refusing entry." Grant's voice stayed flat. "Because someone attempted to enter my office while recording through the door." The security guard shifted. "We didn't authorize anyone to record." "Someone did it anyway," I said. The words came out stronger than I felt. Marissa tapped the tablet. A still image appeared, and my stomach dropped. It was me from the hallway, walking toward Grant's office with one hand on the wall. No missing minutes. No hand on my arm. No blackout. Just me, blurred and unsteady, looking like I had chosen every step. A caption beneath the clip read, "Omega staff seen entering executive office after hours." "That wasn't all of it," I said. "There's a gap." Marissa looked almost sympathetic, which was worse. "The file sent to HR contains no gap." Grant's hand tightened on the doorframe. "Then HR has a manipulated file. Or your internal feed has an issue after the fact," she replied. The implication landed cleanly. Grant could have altered the footage to protect himself. I turned toward him before I could stop myself. He saw the doubt flash across my face. Something in his expression closed, but he did not blame me for it. "You should question me," he said, low enough that only I heard. "Just don't question what happened to your body." A buzz ran down the hallway. One of the night staff looked at her phone, then quickly looked away. Too late. I saw the preview before she turned the screen, a cropped image of my own shoulder under Grant's black jacket. My shame went cold. The rumor was already moving faster than the truth. Marissa saw it too. Her posture stiffened. "Until we verify the footage, Mr. Reed may need to be placed on temporary leave." Temporary leave. Such a clean phrase for being pushed out before I could defend myself. "No," Grant said. Marissa's eyes snapped to him. "You are too personally involved to object. I found an unconscious employee in my office and prevented unauthorized access while someone tried to record him. That is not personal. That is liability. It becomes personal when the employee is found under your desk." My face burned so hard I nearly forgot how to breathe. Grant did not look away from her. Then right that I blocked the door before anyone could turn him into evidence. For one brief second, I wanted to believe him completely. Then Marissa's tablet chimed. She looked down, and all the color drained from her face. "There's another file," she said. Grant went still. "From who?" Marissa did not answer. Her eyes lifted slowly, first to him, then to me hidden behind his shoulder. "It was sent to the compliance board 5 minutes ago," she said. "This one was taken from inside your office." "Inside your office." The words made the hallway shrink around me. Grant reached for the tablet, but Marissa pulled it back before his fingers touched the screen. "You're not viewing this privately," she said. "Compliance protocol." "Compliance protocol allowed a manipulated hallway file into your hands," Grant replied. "Show us what was sent." The guard shifted closer, suddenly less certain which side of the door was dangerous. Marissa unlocked the file with a trembling thumb. The video opened on Grant's office from a high corner angle I had not noticed before. His desk filled most of the frame. The chair was empty. The room looked still for 2 seconds. Then the image jerked, as if the file had been trimmed badly, and Grant appeared beside the desk, already moving fast. My body was half visible on the floor, one sleeve dragged across the rug, my head turned away from the camera. A soundless version of me. That was the worst part. My mouth was open, but there was no audio. No gasp. No protest. No proof that I was barely conscious. Grant knelt, and the clip zoomed in just enough to turn help into suspicion. His black jacket came off his shoulders. He threw it over me. From that angle, it did not look like protection. It looked like concealment. Marissa swallowed. "Why is the audio missing?" Grant asked. "The file arrived that way," she said. I stared at the muted video until my eyes burned. On screen, Grant's lips moved. He said something to me before he pulled the jacket higher. I could not read the words. The file cut. Again, and suddenly the chair was positioned over me, Grant seated above, his knees hiding most of my body beneath the desk. The image froze on the exact shape everyone would misunderstand. Me hidden between his legs. Him looking down. The jacket across my shoulders. The title of my ruin, captured in one frame. One of the night staff whispered something behind her hand. I heard only one word. Seduced. My hand curled into a fist. Grant stepped forward, but I moved before he could. No, I said. My voice cracked, then steadied. Don't speak for me. He stopped. The shift was small, but I felt it. For the first time, he let me stand in front of the narrative instead of behind his body. I faced Marissa, still wrapped in the jacket that made me look guilty. If that clip is real, then show me the seconds before it starts. Marissa hesitated. It starts there. No, I said. That is where someone wanted it to start. Grant's eyes flicked to me, sharp with something almost like approval, but he kept silent. Marissa replayed the file from the beginning. 2 seconds of empty room. Cut. Grant beside the desk. My body already on the floor. Cut. Jacket. Cut. Chair. No audio. No entrance. No moment of collapse. No proof of who brought me inside. Just pieces arranged into a story that hated me. This is enough for the board to suspend both of you pending review, Marissa said quietly. Both of us. The danger widened. It was no longer just my job, my shame, my name. The clip could make Grant look like a predator and me look like someone who invited it. A perfect scandal with 2 victims and 1 invisible hand. Grant turned to Marissa. Send me the file metadata. You're under review. Then send it to him. He nodded toward me. Everyone looked at me as if I had suddenly become a person who mattered. Marissa's jaw tightened, but she transferred the file to my phone. The moment it arrived, I saw the thumbnail again and nearly dropped it. Grant reached out, then stopped himself before touching my hand. Your choice, he said. That restraint cut deeper than comfort. I opened the file details. The audio track existed. It was not missing. It had been muted. Someone silenced this. I whispered. Grant leaned closer, careful not to crowd me. Check the reflection on the monitor. My pulse kicked. In the frozen first frame, the office screen behind Grant's desk reflected the doorway glass at an angle the camera itself could not see. I enlarged it with shaking fingers. A dark shape stood outside the door before Grant dragged me under the desk. Not the guard. Not Marissa. Someone holding up a phone, already aimed through the glass. And in that reflection, just before the clip cut, Grant's mouth formed words I could not hear while his hand pulled me down out of sight. The red timer on the reflected phone screen changed everything from suspicion into attack. The woman near the elevator stopped moving, but she did not look at me. She looked at Grant, as if waiting to see whether power would save her or crush her. Phone on the floor, Grant said. His voice was quiet enough to be dangerous. The woman's hand tightened around it. Marissa stepped between them before he could move. No one touches anyone's device without authorization. Then authorize it, I said. The words surprised even me. My knees still felt weak. My throat still tasted bitter, but the fear had changed shape. I was no longer trying to prove I had not crawled under his desk. I was trying to prove someone had wanted the world to think I had. Marissa opened her mouth, but her tablet chimed again. This time, she did not hide the screen fast enough. A new file had arrived in the board thread. The thumbnail was worse than the last one. It showed only me under the desk and Grant bending over me. The black jacket pulled at my shoulder, his face cut off just above the mouth so his expression could not defend him. The recovered audio was gone. The reflection was gone. The phone outside the door was gone. Whoever made it had carved the truth down to the ugliest possible shape. Under the file name, one line appeared. Proof of executive misconduct. My stomach dropped so hard I gripped the doorframe. That's not the same clip, I said. It's edited from the office angle. Grant reached for the tablet, then stopped when Marissa stepped back. The restraint cost him. I saw it in his jaw. Metadata, he said. Now. Marissa's face had lost all compliance polish. She opened the details. The file had been exported 7 minutes before HR said they received the first hallway clip. 7 minutes before the official complaint existed. They prepared it before anyone was supposed to know. I whispered. The consequence landed in the hallway like a second door locking shut. This had not been panic. It had not been a staff member reacting to a rumor. Someone had built the scandal in advance, piece by piece. Waiting for the moment, I woke up in the wrong place. The security guard swore under his breath. Marissa looked at Grant. The board will require you to recuse yourself from any internal review. No, you're in the clip. So is he. Grant snapped, then caught himself and looked at me. The anger in his voice was not at me, but it still made the guard's hand hover near his radio. Grant lowered his tone. If I'm removed, the only people controlling the files are the people who already mishandled them. Marissa shook her head. If you stay, they'll say you're suppressing evidence to protect yourself. The power tilted again. At the beginning of the night, Grant's authority had been the only wall between me and the hallway. Now that same authority could make every proof look corrupted. I looked at the new thumbnail on Marissa's tablet. It was my body, my shame, my helplessness, turned into a weapon against both of us. Then don't let him lead it, I said. Grant's eyes cut to mine. Marissa blinked. What? My hand shook as I held out my phone. Send the file details to me. The raw cache, the export data, the board file, all of it. If he touches it, they'll call it interference. If I ask for the evidence used against me, they have to log the request. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Grant stepped back, giving me the space instead of taking it. That was the first time I felt the shift clearly. He was no longer standing in front of me. He was standing behind my choice. Marissa transferred the metadata package. Lines of file data filled my screen, most of it meaningless until one field caught my eye. Export source. The location code was not Grant's office. Camera. Not HR. Not the board server. It came from a workstation, I said. The guard leaned closer. Which one? I enlarged the line, and the hallway seemed to narrow around the answer. Exec. Hall 03. My eyes lifted toward the corridor outside Grant's office, toward the place where the reflection had shown the phone raised before the clip began. Grant followed my gaze. Marissa did too. The woman by the elevator had gone completely still. The workstation that exported the blackmail cut was not inside his office at all. It was the terminal mounted just outside his door, in the exact blind strip where the person with the phone had been standing. The terminal code sat on my phone like a fingerprint left at the scene. Exec. Hall 03. The blind strip outside Grant's door. The place where the reflection had caught the raised phone. Marissa turned toward the woman by the elevator. Lena, she said, and the name made the woman flinch before anyone accused her. Not a confession. Not enough. Just enough to make every person in the hallway look at her. I was logging inventory, Lena said too quickly. That terminal is public for night staff. Then hand over your access badge, Marissa said. Lena's face hardened. Am I being detained? The security guard stepped forward, but his radio crackled before he reached her. A clipped voice came through. Compliance board has reviewed the new file. Mr. Reed is to be separated from the executive floor pending formal inquiry. Mr. Hale is to surrender administrative access immediately. The hallway went cold. Grant's body went still in a way that made every alpha instinct in the air sharpen. On what grounds? He asked. The radio voice did not hesitate. Potential executive misconduct and employee manipulation. Evidence submitted shows physical concealment of subordinate staff in private office. Physical concealment. They had taken the ugliest frame and turned it into official language. My shame became a policy line. Grant reached for the radio, but I stepped in front of him before he could take it. The movement cost me. My knees wavered and his hand lifted, then stopped in midair because touching me would become one more picture. Someone could twist. That restraint hurt more than if he had grabbed me. Don't, I whispered. They'll say you're controlling me. His eyes cut to mine, furious and helpless. Then he lowered his hand. Power shifted away from him so violently I felt the room notice. Marissa received another board message. Her expression broke. Caleb, I'm sorry. They're initiating temporary leave. Effective now. The words should have sounded soft. They sounded like a door closing forever. Lena's phone buzzed in her hand. She looked down, and for 1 second, satisfaction crossed her mouth before fear covered it. Grant saw it too. That device contains evidence, he said. And you no longer have authority here, Lena replied. It was the first bold thing she had said all night. Too bold. The board's decision had given her courage. Or cover. Marissa tried to regain control. No one leaves until we preserve the terminal logs. The logs can wait, the guard said, checking his own screen. Board wants Mr. Reed escorted to the South Conference Room for statement recording. Statement recording. Another camera. Another room where they could ask me to explain why I had woken beneath my boss's desk, while wearing his jacket. My throat tightened around the old fear. No one will believe me. Not because I sounded guilty. Because the footage made guilt easier. They moved us downstairs under escort, not together. Grant was kept 3 steps behind me, close enough that his presence steadied the air, far enough that everyone could pretend he was dangerous. In the South Conference Room, the board file played on a wall screen without the recovered audio, without the reflection, without the cache. Just me under the desk. Grant bending down. Jacket. Chair. Freeze frame. A man from compliance I had never met said, "Mr. Reed, can you explain why you entered Mr. Hale's office after hours?" I stared at my own body on the screen. That clip is altered. We have reviewed the submitted file. You reviewed a cut, I said. Not the timeline. He folded his hands. Then provide a complete one. The cruelty was quiet. Complete proof was the one thing they had stripped from me. Grant spoke from behind the line they had made him stand behind. You have raw cache, export metadata, and evidence of audio suppression. Mr. Hale, you are not permitted to advise the witness. Witness, not employee, not victim. Witness to my own humiliation. Marissa slid my phone back across the table. Caleb, she said under her breath, if there's anything else in the file, find it now. My fingers felt numb, but I opened the blackmail clip and forced myself to watch the frame everyone wanted to use against me. Once, twice. The third time, I stopped looking at my body and looked at the glass wall behind Grant's desk. A reflection sat there, faint beneath the compression, the round clock above the elevator doors. Its hands did not match the timestamp burned into the file. My pulse jumped. I enlarged it until the image blurred, then sharpened around the clock face. The video timestamp said 10:46. The reflected clock said 10:42. 4 minutes earlier. Before the clip claimed Grant found me. Before the board said I entered willingly. Before the missing gap was supposed to begin. I looked up at the frozen faces around the table, then at Grant standing where he could not save me. For the first time all night, I knew exactly what I had to do. The footage was lying by 4 minutes. The footage was lying by 4 minutes, and everyone in the room had been willing to believe it because the lie looked cleaner than I did. My hands shook around the phone, but I kept the screen raised. Play the clip again, I said. The compliance man frowned. Mr. Reed, we have already reviewed. No. I cut in, and my own voice startled me. You reviewed the part that made me look guilty. Now you're going to review the time. Grant shifted behind the line, but he did not step forward. He let the room look at me. That was the first piece of power I took back. Marissa moved to the wall screen and replayed the blackmail cut. The ugly frame appeared again. Me under the desk, Grant bending over me. The jacket making protection look like shame. My stomach twisted, but I forced myself to look past my own body, past his shoulder, past the thing they wanted me to be. Pause there, I said. The image froze. I pointed at the glass wall behind Grant's desk. Zoom into the reflection. The compliance man sighed, but Marissa did it before he could object. The reflected elevator clock blurred, then sharpened. 10:42. The timestamp burned into the clip read 10:46. Silence moved through the room like a blade. That could be distortion, the compliance man said, but now his voice had lost its certainty. Then open the hallway feed, I said. The raw one, not the board file. And open the export log from exec. Hall 03 beside it. His eyes narrowed. You are not in a position to make demands. My laugh came out broken. I woke up under my boss's desk in a clip you were about to use to end my career. I'm exactly in the position to make demands. Marissa looked at me for one long second, then plugged my phone into the conference display. 3 windows appeared side by side. The office clip, the hallway camera cache, and the export metadata. I felt Grant behind me, close enough to steady the air, far enough not to own the moment. Start at 10:41, I said. The hallway feed showed me stumbling near the elevator, one hand sliding down the wall. My knees bent. The reflection caught a figure stepping in behind me. Slow it, I said. The security guard leaned forward. In the glass, a hand closed around my elbow before the official timestamp claimed I had entered voluntarily. My throat tightened, but I kept going. Now play the office cache. The second feed jumped. Empty office. Dark desk. Then a drag mark on the rug before the blackmail clip's chosen beginning. My sleeve appeared at the bottom of the frame while I was already on the floor. I was inside before their clip starts, I said. unconscious before he came in. Grant's breath left him behind me, but he still did not speak for me. Marissa opened the audio fragment. Static filled the room, followed by my broken whisper, then Grant's voice, urgent and raw. Stay below the desk. Cameras still live. The compliance man looked away first. That was when I knew the lie had cracked. Now the export log, I said. Marissa enlarged it. The file had been created from exec. Hall 03 before HR received the first complaint, before the official review, before anyone claimed they were reacting to misconduct. Someone made the scandal before you investigated it, I said. Someone cut out the part where I collapsed, muted the part where he warned me about the camera, and exported the version that made me look like I chose it. The room had gone completely still. Even the red recording light above the conference wall seemed less like a threat now and more like a witness. The compliance man swallowed. Who had access to that terminal? Marissa pulled up the badge log with shaking fingers. One entry appeared at 10:43. Lena Morris. The name hit the screen, but I did not stop there. Show the final frame of the hallway reflection, I said. The one before the blackout. Marissa enlarged it until pixels broke and reformed around the elevator glass. The figure behind me sharpened. A woman's profile, a phone raised in her right hand, her badge tilted toward the camera. Lena's face appeared beside mine in the reflection, watching me fall while her recording timer was already running. I turned from the screen to the room that had almost condemned me, then to Grant, who stood silent and furious behind the line they had drawn for him. For the first time that night, I was not hidden beneath his desk or behind his jacket. I was standing in front of the camera, and the truth was finally looking back. Lena's name stayed on the wall, bright and undeniable, while the room forgot how to breathe. Then Marissa moved first. She signaled the guard, and this time no one argued about authorization. Lena's phone was taken, bagged, and connected to the conference display under chain of custody logging. I watched her face in the reflection of the glass, not the screen. She looked angry, not afraid. That told me enough before the files did. Her phone opened to the recording we had seen only as a reflection. Me collapsing near the elevator, her hand catching my arm, her voice whispering, "Come on, just a few more steps," while my head rolled forward and my shoes dragged uselessly over the floor. The room went silent in a different way, not uncertain anymore. Sick. Marissa's hands shook as she pulled the staff kitchen feed next. Lena appeared beside my desk earlier that night, placing a paper cup where I would find it, then turning the label toward the camera so it looked like an HR delivery. The lab strip from the torn scent blocker patch was not a theory anymore. The tea, the elevator, the missing 4 minutes, the phone outside Grant's door, the muted audio, the blackmail cut, all of it formed one straight line. Lena had not discovered a scandal. She had manufactured one and waited with her camera for me to wake inside it. The compliance man cleared his throat, but no official phrase came out. Grant finally crossed the line they had drawn for him, slowly enough that nobody could call it aggression. He stopped beside me, not in front of me. Ask him, he said. Not me. So Marissa turned to me with wet eyes and asked, Caleb, what do you want entered into record? At the beginning of the night, I would have begged someone else to explain. I would have hidden behind Grant's jacket, behind his voice, behind any alpha powerful enough to make the room look away from my shame. But the red recording light above the wall was still on, and for once, I did not want it turned off. Enter the full timeline, I said. Not the clip, not the frame, the timeline. Marissa played it from the start. The kitchen, the cup, my hand taking it without suspicion. The elevator, Lena catching me when my knees failed. The hallway blackout, the office drag mark, Grant entering after the motion alert, his jacket covering my torn patch, his voice through the raw cache, stay below the desk. Cameras still live. The chair, the frozen image everyone had wanted to believe. Then the export log showing Lena cutting that image into a lie before HR was even notified. By the time the final frame ended, no one in the room was looking at me like a rumor anymore. The compliance man stood. Mr. Reed's temporary leave is rescinded. The board file will be corrected and sealed pending external review. Mr. Hale is cleared of misconduct in the submitted evidence. Lena laughed once, sharp and ruined. You think they'll remember all that? They'll remember where he woke up. The wound opened exactly where she aimed it. For half a second, I was back under the desk, between Grant's knees, choking on the certainty that no one would believe me. Then I looked at the screen. The truth was still there. Not kind, not pretty, but complete. No, I said. My voice did not shake. They'll remember why. Grant's jacket was still around my shoulders. I took it off slowly and handed it back to him. Not because I rejected what it had meant, but because I no longer needed to hide under it. His fingers closed around the fabric, careful not to touch mine unless I chose it. You saved me, I said quietly. But you also let me prove it. His face changed then, the hard lines breaking around something almost painful. You deserved both. Marissa unlocked the conference room door. The hallway outside was full of people pretending they had not been waiting for my ruin. The same red camera light blinked above the elevator. At the start of the night, that light had been a threat. It had watched me fall, watched me disappear, watched a lie try to wear my body. Now it watched me walk out on my own feet. Grant stayed one step behind me, not shielding me from view, only there if I turned. I passed the terminal where Lena had exported the clip and stopped beneath the camera. For the first time, I looked directly into it. I had woken hidden between my alpha boss's legs, certain the image would destroy me. But the full picture had survived. And when the truth finally looked back, it did not find a seducer, a liar, or a scandal. It found me.